The world of tennis thought it would have closed the book on Serena Williams. Her farewell at the 2022 U.S. Open was treated like a grand curtain call. Ovations that lasted minutes, tributes pouring in for fellow players, journalists hailing her as the greatest of all time. For millions, it was the end of an era. And yet, in a twist worthy of sporting folklore, Serena has returned. At 42, she is once again lacing up her shoes, stepping back to the gladiatorial arena of professional tennis. This is not merely a comeback. It is a story that has shaken the very foundations of the sport. Fans are stunned. Rivals are unsettled. Broadcasters are scrambling. And a single tantalizing question hovers in the air. Why now? Serena has always thrived on rewriting the impossible. She won the 2017 Australian Open while 2 months pregnant. She conquered surfaces and opponents from Hingis to Sharapova, from Davenport to Osaka, 23 Grand Slam. But the intrigue lies in the timing. The women's game has never been more competitive. Swiatek, Sabalenka, Goff, Rybakina. The new guard is fierce, fast, and unforgiving. Into this mix strides Serena Williams, a figure who still carries an aura unlike anyone else. She may be 42, but opponents admit privately. The very idea of facing her sends a ripple of intimidation across the net. Social media has erupted since her announcement. Hashtags trend globally. Clips of her recent training sessions. The serve booming like a cannon, the footwork surprisingly sharp, rack up millions of views within hours. For sponsors and tournament organizers, it is a dream come true. Ticket sales soar, broadcasters rush to adjust schedules, and the tennis world is abuzz with the sense of theater. But beneath the headlines, a deeper narrative brews. This comeback is about more than trophies. It is about legacy, motherhood, the defiance of age, and perhaps, just perhaps, one last tilt at destiny. To understand why Serena Williams' return feels so seismic, we must first grasp the scale of what she left behind. When she walked away from tennis in 2022, she did so not as just another champion, but as a figure who had transcended the sport itself. Her 23 Grand Slam singles titles stand as the Open-era record, one shy of Margaret Court's all-time tally. Yet numbers alone barely capture her dominance. She won on every surface, against every style, across 3 generations of rivals. She beat Martina Hingis with raw power as a teenager, outlasted Justine Henin and Lindsay Davenport in their primes, and later held her own against modern stars like Naomi Osaka and Ashley Barty. For over 2 decades, Serena was the immovable object and the unstoppable force rolled into one. But her legacy stretched far beyond the baselines. Serena became a cultural icon. She inspired a generation of young women, and especially women of color, to believe they could conquer a sport that once felt distant, exclusive, even unwelcoming. Every time she stepped on court, it was more than just a match, it was a statement. When she announced her evolution away from tennis in 2022, the reaction was global. Fans filled stadiums to bid farewell. Opponents who once battled her admitted openly that the women's game would never be the same. Journalists, myself included, wrote columns describing her departure as the end of an epoch. Serena herself embraced the moment with grace, hinting that her future lay in new ventures, family, business, fashion, and philanthropy. Indeed, for a time, it looked as if her competitive fire had finally been extinguished. She poured herself into motherhood, raising her daughter Olympia alongside husband Alexis Ohanian. She fronted bold fashion projects, invested in startups, and appeared to relish life away from the grind of tour life. In interviews, she often smiled when asked about tennis, nostalgic but seemingly content. And yet, as history has shown us time and again, Serena Williams is not built for quiet retirements. The fire never truly dies in champions of her caliber. For months, whispers grew, sightings of her training, rumors of her testing herself against practice partners, reports of a fitness team assembled in secret. To many, it sounded fanciful, a fairy tale for fans still unwilling to let go. But then came the announcement. Official, unmistakable. Serena Williams was back. And suddenly every rival, every fan, every pundit was forced to rethink what they thought they knew about the limits of age, the arc of a career, and the sheer audacity of a champion unwilling to fade into history. The announcement of Serena Williams' comeback did not materialize out of thin air. Behind the headlines, there had been months, perhaps years, of a quiet preparation. While fans assumed she was content in her new life as a mother and entrepreneur, Serena was in fact working tirelessly away from cameras to rebuild the body and the mindset of a champion. Insiders whisper of a private training regime that resembled a military operation. Her team was hand-picked, conditioning experts focused on explosive power, physiotherapists dedicated to injury prevention, nutritionists tailoring every calorie to maximize recovery. At 42, the battle is no longer just against opponents across the net, but against the body itself. Serena knows this better than anyone. She has endured surgeries, setbacks, and even life-threatening health scares. Yet resilience has always been her default setting. Clips began to leak. Short, grainy videos of practice sessions. The trademark serve, once described as the most lethal weapon in women's tennis, still cracked through the air with ferocity. Observers noted her timing, her footwork, even her aura. The intangible presence that seems to shrink the court for her opponents. All appeared intact. Skeptics cautioned, training is not the same as competition. But believers countered, this is Serena Williams, and she has never played by conventional rules. The tennis community split into factions. Analysts debated furiously on television panels. Could she possibly compete with athletes nearly 2 decades younger? Would this be a glorious swan song, or a quixotic final act destined to end in early round defeats? Some suggested her return was commercially driven, a way to boost tournaments and secure one last wave of endorsements. Others saw something more personal. A mother determined to show her daughter Olympia that dreams should never be capped by age or doubt. Meanwhile, her rivals watched closely. For Coco Gauff, who grew up idolizing Serena, the prospect of facing her on the opposite side of the net is equal parts thrilling and terrifying. For established champions like Iga Swiatek or Aryna Sabalenka, it is a chance to measure themselves against the ultimate yardstick. And for fans, it is the promise of one more chapter, one more chance to see greatness unfold live, not in highlight reels. Skepticism, excitement, hope, and fear all swirled together into a storm of anticipation. Serena had not even struck a ball in competition, yet already she had seized the narrative of an entire sport. That in itself is the mark of a legend. Serena Williams' comeback is not just about one player. It is about an entire sport jolted awake. Women's tennis, already thriving with a new generation of stars, has suddenly found itself in the middle of a seismic storyline. For the players, her return is both opportunity and burden. Take Coco Gauff, the 20-year-old U.S. Open champion who once confessed she picked up a racket because of Serena. Now she may face her idol across the net, forced to reconcile admiration with the ruthless necessity of competition. It would be like playing against a myth, one rising star admitted privately. But you can't let the myth beat you. Then there are the current powerhouses, Iga Swiatek, Aryna Sabalenka, Helena Rybakina. These athletes dominate today's tour with speed, power, and then precision. Yet Serena's reappearance casts a long shadow. They know that even if her physical tools have dulled, her aura has not. Many players still step onto the court already a fraction defeated, their shoulders tight, their swings rushed, all because of the name on the other side of the scoreboard. And beyond the court, the commercial machinery is already in motion. Tournament directors rejoice. Ticket sales for events where Serena is expected to appear spike instantly. Broadcasters rework coverage plans, dangling the promise of record viewership. Sponsors circle, eager to attach their brands to the narrative of resilience and defiance. One insider compared it to the effect of Tiger Woods in golf. When Serena plays, the world stops to watch. The atmosphere in the sport that has changed overnight. Where once the conversation revolved around the emerging rivalries between Swiatek and Sabalenka, or Gauff's rise to stardom, now everything funnels back to a single question. How far can Serena go? Will she manage a deep run at Wimbledon? Could the U.S. Open become the stage of a miracle? Each possibility fuels headlines, speculation, and the kind of buzz women's tennis has not seen in years. For the fans, it is a gift, a last chance to cheer, to witness a legend still daring to fight battles that logic says she should not win. Stadiums will fill, chants will echo, and millions will be glued to screens worldwide. Win or lose, Serena's presence guarantees theater, and that, perhaps, is her greatest impact. Even before a ball is struck, she has elevated the sport again, reminding us why tennis is not just about rankings and trophies. It is about stories that inspire, challenge, and linger long after the final point is played. In sport, age is often seen as the final opponent, relentless, undefeated, inevitable. Yet every so often, a few extraordinary athletes push back against that tide, reminding us that greatness does not always follow the rulebook. Serena Williams now joins that rare company. We have seen it before in other arenas. Tom Brady defied convention by winning a Super Bowl at 43. Roger Federer played into his late 30s with elegance. Rafael Nadal has repeatedly returned from injuries to reclaim titles, and LeBron James continues to dominate basketball as he moves into his 40s. But in women's tennis, there has been nothing like this. No female player has attempted, let alone achieved, a comeback at 42 with serious intent to compete at the highest level. This is what makes Serena's story uniquely compelling. Women's tennis is a sport that demands speed, reflexes, and stamina. Qualities often thought to decline rapidly past a certain age, and yet Serena, who once won the Australian Open while 2 months pregnant, has always thrived on breaking the boundaries of what was considered possible. It is not just her physical readiness that commands attention, but her mentality. Few athletes in history have shown such ruthless clarity under pressure. Time and again, Serena turned matches on their head with a mix of ferocious power and icy calm. Opponents speak of her stare across the net, an intensity that could unravel even the steeliest competitor. Can that aura still prevail when facing rivals who are not only young and fast, but grew up studying her every move? The answer is uncertain. And that is the beauty of it. Even if she wins only a handful of matches, she will have achieved something unprecedented, expanding the conversation about longevity and resilience in sport. But should she go further? Should she reach a Slam semifinal, or dare we imagine lift a 24th Grand Slam trophy? The achievement would eclipse almost everything we have seen in modern tennis. More than a comeback, this is a challenge to time itself. Serena's presence at 42 is not simply a return to competition. It is a statement to every athlete, every fan, that age does not have to define limits. History may yet record this as the most audacious chapter of her career. So what can we truly expect from Serena Williams as she steps once more onto the grand stage? For all the romance of her comeback, cold analysis is unavoidable. Her greatest weapon remains intact, the serve. For 2 decades it has been called the most devastating stroke in women's tennis, a cannon that not only wins points, but crushes confidence. Early reports from practice suggest that the motion is still smooth, the timing precise, the power undimmed. If her serve is firing, Serena can still dictate play against anyone. Her raw strength is another asset. Even now, few can match the sheer pace and weight of shots she generates. Add to this her reservoir of experience, finals, tiebreaks, match points, and it is clear she enters battle with an armory few possess. And then there is the intangible, the aura. Many players, even in this new generation, grew up idolizing her. Facing her across the net is not merely a sporting contest. It is an encounter with a living myth. That psychological edge may prove decisive in key moments, but the challenges are equally clear. Movement at 42 cannot match the elasticity of youth. Endurance will be tested by the relentless grind of best-of-3 matches across 2 weeks at a Grand Slam. Her body will be asked to recover time and again under immense pressure. Younger opponents like Iga Świątek and Coco Gauff combine speed with consistency. They will not be overawed forever. So the expectations must be measured. Few analysts would dare predict an immediate Slam triumph, yet none are brave enough to counter out entirely. Even a quarterfinal run would send shockwaves. A semifinal would be historic, and a 24th Grand Slam. Well, that would end the GOAT debate once and for all, cementing her not only as the greatest woman to play the game, but as one of the most inspirational athletes in all of sport. Ultimately, Serena's return is not just about trophies. It is about legacy. The message she sends to her daughter Olympia, to her fans, and to every athlete who has ever been told their time is up. It is about resilience, defiance, and belief. Whether she wins or loses, she has already given us something rare. Another chance to witness greatness, another chapter in a story that refuses to end. And perhaps that is the truest victory of all.